Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. If you think laughter is always innocent, think again. This is how everything I believed in, my marriage, my trust, my sense of reality, unraveled in the most humiliating way imaginable. And it all started with a sound I used to love. Let's begin with a single moment. A Sunday evening, around 8:32 p.m. The front door clicked open. I was in the kitchen, stirring instant noodles I wasn't even hungry for, when I heard her laugh echo down the hallway. Not a polite laugh, not a nervous laugh. It was the kind of laugh you hear when someone thinks they got away with something. She tossed her jacket across the chair like she owned the place, which she did, technically, since her name was also on the mortgage, and waltzed in with a plastic bag of chocolate almonds like she just came back from a casual Target run. There was a glow about her, a bounce in her step, as if she'd won something. "Hey," she said, almost singing. "You wouldn't believe the weekend I had." She didn't wait for me to ask. She just walked into the living room, talking to herself, munching almonds, dropping her purse like she hadn't vanished for 48 hours after telling me she was taking a little solo break to clear her head. That phrase, "clear my head," it had been echoing in my skull since Friday night, when she walked out wearing a new pair of jeans I'd never seen before and perfume she hadn't worn in years. But I didn't say anything. I just nodded. That's what I always did. Nod and wait for her to come back. But this time, something was different. While she was unpacking her overnight bag, which oddly still looked perfectly folded, I walked upstairs. My chest was tight, but I didn't know why. It wasn't until I opened the closet and saw it, or didn't see it, that the feeling crystallized. The box was gone. A small wooden jewelry box I had made her during our 3rd year of marriage. I'm not handy. I used glue and duct tape and got a splinter under my nail that turned into a whole infection. But she had cried when I gave it to her. Said it was the most real thing anyone had made for her. Now it was missing. I came back down. She was on the couch, legs up, scrolling through her phone, still giggling at something. Maybe a meme, maybe a memory, who knows. I stood there for a long time before I said anything. "Where's the box?" I asked. She looked up mid-scroll. "What box?" "The one with your mother's necklace. The wedding ring. The note you said you kept." She blinked, smiled. Then the smile faded. Slowly. "What are you talking about?" she said, but her voice cracked. "You always kept it in the back of the closet. Now it's gone." She stood. "Did you go through my stuff?" "No," I said. "I went to grab my sweater and noticed it was missing." And that's when the tone shifted. Her hands dropped to her sides. The color left her face. And she whispered something I'll never forget. It was just supposed to be fun. I didn't ask what it was. She tried to recover. She told me I was overthinking. That it was harmless. That nothing happened. That the guy she was with was just someone from her college she bumped into. That they only talked. That she wanted to remember what it was like to feel spontaneous. Like we were 25 again. She said it with tears in her eyes. But she still didn't ask where the box went. Because she already knew. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You traded our history for a weekend thrill. I just made sure you lost something in return." She stood there, frozen, in silence. And for once, it was me who walked away first. She didn't follow me at first. I could hear her still standing in the living room behind me, probably trying to decide whether to yell or cry. I didn't care anymore. I went into the guest room, the one we never used, and closed the door behind me. I didn't lock it because I wanted her to make the next move. She always did. She was the fixer, the apologizer, the one with the clever excuses that I always let her sell me. But not this time. This time, I needed her to feel the silence I had drowned in for months. I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours, just sitting there, breathing, letting the emptiness settle in. You know that feeling when your body's still, but your mind is sprinting in every direction? That was me. I was thinking about our wedding day, how she had made everyone laugh with her ridiculous vows. I was thinking about the night she cried after her father died, and I held her for 6 straight hours on the bathroom floor. I was thinking about how easily she had come home smiling after disappearing for 2 days with someone else. And worst of all, I was thinking about how stupid I must have looked the entire time. Eventually, I heard footsteps. Hesitant. Slow. She knocked lightly on the door. "Jerry? Can we talk?" My voice was quiet but sharp. "About what? Your little vacation? Or the lies wrapped up in almond giggles?" She opened the door halfway and peeked in. Her makeup was smeared. I guess the panic was finally setting in. "Look, I didn't mean for any of this to spiral. It was just—" She paused, chewing on the word like it was glass. "A stupid idea," I scoffed, standing up. "Was it stupid when you packed the dress you said you'd never wear again because it showed too much cleavage? Was it stupid when you printed that photo and hid it behind old purses? Or was it stupid when you smiled at me afterward like you hadn't just burned our entire marriage down?" Her lip trembled. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Marlene? Paint me the scene. Let me see how you spun betrayal into self-care. Because I must have missed that chapter in the wedding vows." She stepped into the room fully now, her arms crossed like she was trying to physically hold herself together. I felt invisible. For a long time, you stopped noticing me. We stopped touching. You never even looked up from your laptop unless I was holding a plate of food. That one stung, because it was kind of true. I looked down. "So instead of talking to me, you gave your laughter to a stranger." "I didn't sleep with him," she said quickly. I looked up. Her eyes darted. Her voice cracked. She was lying. "But you wanted to," I whispered. Silence. Thick, miserable silence. That was all I needed to know. "I took the box," I said finally. "The one with everything real in it. The pieces of us that you apparently needed to forget for a couple nights." Her face twisted in confusion. "Why?" "Because if you're going to throw us away, I want to keep what mattered, even if you don't." She turned her face, probably to hide the tears. I should have felt satisfaction. I didn't. I felt broken, like I'd ripped a part of myself out just to prove I still had one. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I didn't laugh because I was happy. I laughed because I felt free. And that scares me more than anything." I didn't reply. Couldn't. Because no matter how poetic it sounded, it only made things worse. I walked past her slowly. She didn't stop me this time. She didn't reach out. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the floor. And in that moment, I realized the worst betrayal wasn't the fling. It was the fact that she found more joy in escaping our life than she ever found living in it. The morning after was the kind that should have felt normal. Cloudy sky, coffee machine sputtering, the soft hum of the fridge in the background. But everything was wrong. The weight in the air was unbearable, like the house itself knew what had happened. I hadn't slept at all. I just laid on the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, playing every second of our last conversation on repeat. Her words about feeling free kept echoing in my head like a bell I couldn't unring. It's crazy how you can live with someone for over a decade and one sentence is enough to shatter everything you believed about them. I didn't go downstairs right away. I heard her moving around the kitchen, opening drawers, then cabinets, then more drawers. Each slam of a door sounded more frantic. She was looking for the box. I had hidden it well, not to punish her, but because I couldn't bear to look at it myself. Not after she made it so clear that it didn't mean anything to her anymore. I had tucked it behind an old radiator vent in the garage, wrapped in 2 layers of towels like it was some kind of relic. I don't even know why I still needed it. Maybe it was all I had left of the version of her I used to love. When I finally came downstairs, she was standing at the kitchen table, both hands flat on the surface like she was trying to hold herself up. Her eyes were puffy, red. I could tell she hadn't slept either. "You really hid it?" she asked, barely above a whisper. I nodded. Her lip curled slightly. "That's cruel." I wanted to laugh, but it came out as a scoff. "Cruel? You disappeared for 2 days with a man I've never met, came home smelling like his cologne, and laughed like nothing happened. And I'm cruel for moving a box?" She opened her mouth like she had something powerful to say, then closed it again. Instead, she asked, "What do you want from me, Jerry? A confession? Do you want me to say I ruined everything?" "Fine. I did. But don't pretend you weren't part of the reason I drifted. And there it was. The blame. Like clockwork. That's not an excuse, I said, trying to stay calm, though my hands were shaking. You don't fix a lonely marriage by burning it down and dancing in the ashes. She turned away from me, rubbing her temples, like she was the one who needed relief. I stood there for a long time watching her. Not out of anger, not even out of sadness anymore, just disbelief. This was the same woman who used to cry at greeting cards, who once drove across town at midnight because I had a fever. And now she was defending a secret weekend with someone else because I didn't look at her enough when I was tired after work. I sat down at the far end of the table. I want to know who he is, I said. She stiffened. Don't protect him. Don't pretend you forgot. I want to know who the guy was. His name. She hesitated, then said, I'm not protecting him. He doesn't matter. He was just available. Available. Like a takeout order. His name, Marlene? I repeated. She sat down slowly, picked at the skin around her thumbnail. Then she said, his name's Curtis. Curtis. I didn't know any Curtises. I racked my brain. Work? Gym? Neighborhood? Nothing. Where'd you meet him? A Facebook group, she muttered. Of course. One of those nostalgia pages. People reconnecting with people they shouldn't. Just talking at first. Just remembering the good old days. Until one day, a memory turns into a meetup, and a meetup turns into betrayal. I didn't speak again for the rest of the day. Couldn't. My brain was overloaded, not with rage but humiliation. Because I knew the truth. He wasn't some better man. He was just someone else. Someone who didn't see her in pajama pants at 2 a.m. or rub her feet when her ankles hurt. Someone who didn't care about her tax stress or her mother's declining health. He only saw what she let him see, the version of her she'd carefully edited. That night, I moved my pillow permanently into the guest room. But the real shift came the next morning, when I opened the front door to go to work and saw that something else was missing. The second car. Gone. Her keys too. I checked the hallway, no jacket. I ran back inside. Marlene? No answer. I checked the bedroom. Her purse. Her phone charger. Her makeup bag. Gone. She had left again. And this time she didn't say a word. Took me 2 full minutes to register what was happening. I just stood there in the open doorway, still in my slippers, with the cold air slicing through my t-shirt. No note. No text. No hint. The car was gone and so was she. And yet, somehow it didn't feel dramatic. It wasn't the kind of storm-out scene you see in movies, no shouting match, no slammed doors. Just silence. A quiet exit. And that was what made it feel so much worse. Because this wasn't impulsive. It was planned. She had packed the night before when I was in the guest room pretending to sleep. She had made a decision while I was still desperately hoping we could fix things. I went back inside and paced the hallway. My first thought wasn't, where is she? But what did she take? That's how broken I had become. That my instinct was no longer to protect her, but to protect myself from her. I rushed upstairs to the bedroom and began pulling open drawers, scanning the shelves, checking behind closet doors like I was searching for contraband. And just like that, the evidence began stacking up. Half her clothes were gone. Not just overnight stuff, not just jeans and sweatshirts, but formal wear. The black dress she wore to our anniversary last year? Gone. The earrings I gave her for her 34th birthday? Gone. Her side of the bathroom counter looked abandoned. Her curling iron, makeup case, perfume, all missing. I opened the linen closet and saw the small duffel bag we usually reserved for short trips was no longer there either. And then, the worst part, her wedding ring. Left behind. Sitting on top of her jewelry dish like it was just another accessory that didn't go with her outfit. I picked it up slowly. Felt cold. Heavier than usual. Like it had soaked in the weight of what she'd done. I didn't cry right away. Not yet. I just stood in our bedroom. My bedroom now, I guess. Holding that ring, wondering how someone could cross a line so quietly and never look back. I sat down on the edge of the bed and tried to tell myself this was temporary. Maybe she just needed space. Maybe this was one of those dramatic threats you make in marriage when you're too hurt to think clearly. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. So I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No reply. After an hour of spiraling, I called her sister, just to see if she knew anything. Have you heard from Marlene? I asked, trying to sound casual. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then her sister replied with a tone that told me everything I needed to know. I thought you knew. Knew what? Marlene said she told you that she needed time to figure things out. Figure what out? I don't know all the details, her sister said, clearly lying. But I know she's okay. She wanted to breathe for a while. Breathe. There it was again. Like our marriage was suffocating her. Like I was suffocating her. I ended the call and sat in silence for a while. And then, for reasons I still don't fully understand, I opened our joint banking app. Just something told me to check. And that's when the next gut punch landed. 2 withdrawals. One for $400. The other for $2,000. Both made less than an hour before she left. I stared at the screen in disbelief. That wasn't just gas money or a hotel night. That was intentional. That was premeditated. I felt my face flush with heat. My hands went cold. I checked the transaction location. A small branch near the highway. She had gone out of her way to do this. Quietly, cleanly. She had packed her bags, waited for me to fall asleep, and then drained part of our account like she was checking off a grocery list. And again, not a word. No goodbye. No explanation. Not even an "I'm sorry." I wanted to scream, to punch a wall. But instead, I just sat there, in a home that suddenly felt far too big for one person, holding her ring in one hand and my phone in the other. I scrolled back through old photos of us. I know it's pathetic, but I needed to remember what it used to be like. The days when she looked at me like I was someone worth keeping. I don't know how long I stayed there, maybe hours. But eventually my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "Don't make this worse, Jerry. I just need space. Please don't try to find me." No punctuation. No emotion. Just distance. But the kicker? There was a profile photo of her in a hotel room mirror, wearing that black dress I gave her. And behind her, barely visible in the reflection, a man's jacket slung over a chair. I didn't move for a long time after seeing that photo. I just stared at it, blinking like it might change if I gave it a second. Her silhouette, that little smirk she wore when she felt in control, the curve of her shoulder angled toward the mirror, it was all so calculated. Even the damn lighting looked deliberate, like she'd positioned herself for a magazine cover. And that man's jacket in the background? It wasn't some forgotten item tossed on a chair. It was a symbol, a quiet announcement. "I've replaced you." She didn't say it with words. She didn't have to. That reflection told the entire story. I wanted to scream. I wanted to delete every photo of her I had, tear the sheets off the bed, throw her plants off the porch. Something. But all I did was sit there, frozen. My fingers couldn't even unlock the phone for a full minute. I just stared at her message, that haunting line, "Don't make this worse, Jerry," like I was the villain. Like her disappearing with someone else was me pushing her too far. The audacity made my stomach twist, but the sadness came before the rage ever could. Later that evening, just as the sun was setting, a package arrived. No name, no return address, just a plain manila envelope tucked into my mailbox. For a second, I thought it might have been something I'd ordered weeks ago and forgotten about, but the moment I touched it, I knew it wasn't. It was too thin, too light, and something about the neatness of the handwriting. My name in soft cursive, no last name, made my throat tighten. I brought it inside, sat down at the kitchen table and opened it slowly. Inside were 3 things. The first was a folded receipt from a boutique hotel 3 hours away. 2 nights, 1 room, 1 bed. The guest names had been blurred out, but I didn't need to see them. The second item was a Polaroid photo. Yes, an actual old-fashioned photo. Who even uses Polaroids anymore? But there it was. Blurry, poorly lit, but clear enough. Marlene, sitting across a table from the same man whose jacket was in the reflection. I could only see his arm, his watch, and part of his profile, but that was enough. Her eyes were focused on him. Her hand was halfway across the table, reaching, and she was laughing. Not like someone telling a joke, like someone falling in love. And the third item? A handwritten note. Not hers. His. It read, "You deserve someone who makes you feel like more than a roommate. Don't go back." No signature. No name. Just that one final push. Whoever he was, he didn't just want her for the weekend. He wanted her permanently, and she was seriously considering it. I felt something collapse in my chest then. Not like a heart attack, but close enough. My vision blurred and I had to press my hands to my face just to breathe. This wasn't just an affair. This was a campaign. A replacement. She had let someone else step in and convince her that our life, our messy, flawed, complicated life, wasn't worth fighting for. And she agreed. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. I stayed up in our bedroom, surrounded by the echo of her absence, trying to imagine what kind of person I must have been for her to throw away everything we built for someone she barely knew. Was I boring? Too soft? Too predictable? Had I let myself become invisible? Around 3 a.m. I opened my laptop. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe a distraction, maybe a clue. But instead, I ended up in a rabbit hole of hotel reviews. I searched the name from the receipt and found it easily. A sleek little getaway spot, candlelit bar, private balconies, couples massages, all the things we never did. And then something caught my eye, a review left 2 days ago. Amazing stay with my partner. Everything was perfect. We felt like we were the only two people in the world. Attached was a photo of a wine glass and a woman's hand resting beside it. The same pale pink nails Marlene had been wearing the night she left. I didn't leave a comment. I just closed the page, leaned back, and let it all sink in. This was no accident. She wasn't confused. She had moved on, and she was asking me not to make it worse. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I replied to her message. Just one line. "I hope he's worth everything you left behind." And then I turned off my phone. But even in that moment of clarity, I had no idea that someone else, someone unexpected, had already seen the photo too. And they were about to drag this mess into the open in a way neither of us could control. The silence after I sent that text was deafening. I didn't expect a reply, but part of me hoped she'd say something. Anything, to explain, to deny, to twist it back into my fault like she always did. But hours passed. Then a day. Then another. Nothing. And still that photo of her. The dress, the wine glass, the hint of someone else's hand in the background, was burned into my brain like a scar I couldn't stop running my fingers across. I kept wondering what she was doing in those exact moments. Did she read my message with a smirk? Did she show it to him and laugh about how clingy I was? Was I some sad footnote in a life she was happily rewriting? I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not yet. I was too ashamed. It's weird how betrayal can make you feel guilty. Like you failed some invisible test you didn't know you were taking. I wasn't ready to answer questions from friends or family. I couldn't handle the looks, the pity, or worse, the quiet "I told you so" stares from people who probably always suspected something was off. So I just buried myself in work and waited for the storm to pass. But storms don't pass when someone else is controlling the weather. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because I had just finished a client meeting and was walking back to my car when my phone started vibrating nonstop. Missed calls, texts, notifications from people I hadn't spoken to in months. At first, I thought someone had died. But when I opened my phone, my stomach dropped. There it was. The photo. The exact same one from that hotel room mirror. Marlene posing in her little black dress. Her phone tilted just enough to catch the reflection of her lover's jacket behind her. But this time, it wasn't in a private message. It was on Facebook. Posted by a woman named Dana, Marlene's coworker. The caption read, "Some people don't just cheat on their husbands. They brag about it behind your back too. Hope the weekend was worth it, Marlene." Over 300 comments within an hour. My heart stopped. I sat in the car with the engine still running, just staring at the screen while more alerts poured in. Mutual friends tagging each other. Old high school acquaintances commenting, "Is this really her?" A coworker from my office messaged me, "Hey man, I don't know how to say this, but I just saw something and thought you should know." My body went numb. I opened the post again and clicked on the comments. It was worse than I imagined. People from her job were chiming in. Apparently, Marlene hadn't been as discreet as she thought. She had told multiple people about her mini escape, even joked about how easy it was to lie because he's too gentle to ask questions. One person wrote, "She literally said she needed a break from boring domestic life and wanted to feel desired again. How can you do that to someone who adores you?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear my phone in half. But all I could do was sit there, reading as years of lies unraveled in public, thread by thread. And then, at the very bottom of the comments was one from someone unexpected. Curtis D. "Didn't realize I was the villain in this story. My bad. I'm out." That was it. 7 words. No defense. No denial. Just a digital shrug. I stared at his name, trying to remember if she'd ever said his last name. I clicked his profile. It was private, of course. Just a profile picture of a man holding a motorcycle helmet and wearing a smug grin. Fit perfectly. He looked like the kind of guy who never apologized because he never thought he had to. By the time I got home, the post had been deleted, probably flagged, or maybe Dana got cold feet. But the damage was already done. Screenshots were everywhere. Friends were still texting me, some offering support, others asking me if it was really that Marlene. I didn't answer any of them. I just walked into the house, dropped my keys, and sat at the bottom of the stairs like my limbs didn't work anymore. And then, the front door opened. I looked up and there she was. Marlene, holding a single duffel bag. Hair pulled back. No makeup. No jacket. Just silence. She looked like someone who'd been dragged through her own disaster and came back only because she had nowhere else to run. I stood slowly, feeling dizzy. "You're back." She nodded. "I didn't think it would explode like this." "You didn't think," I echoed. "That part checks out." She set the bag down and stepped inside like a stranger. Dana saw the picture. She was mad because I didn't tell her the truth. "I didn't think she'd." "You didn't think a lot of things," I cut in. "You didn't think about what happens when secrets stop being secrets. You didn't think that people talk. You didn't think that maybe, just maybe, living a double life might catch up with you." She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "I don't want excuses," I said. "I just want honesty. For once." She hesitated, then said, "It was never supposed to be serious." I laughed and it came out broken. "You left. You drained our account. You let someone else write notes about me being a roommate. That's not a fling, Marlene. That's a replacement." Her voice cracked. "I thought he loved me. Do you?" She didn't answer. And for the first time, I realized the truth. Even if she did come back, even if she begged, even if she cried, it wouldn't matter. Because I didn't trust her anymore. And once that's gone, what's left? We didn't speak for hours after that. Marlene stood in the hallway like she didn't recognize the house anymore. And I sat on the bottom step like my legs couldn't carry me further. The silence between us wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. It cut through everything soft and familiar and exposed just the raw, unhealed truth. There were no more illusions to hold on to. No more carefully worded apologies or half-lies dressed as confessions. She was back in the house, yes, but not in my life. Not really. Eventually, she moved upstairs with her bag. I didn't follow. I didn't ask her where she was going to sleep or what she expected to happen next. I think deep down she didn't know either. The scandal had swallowed her whole. Dana's post had done more than embarrass her. It had burned her. People at work saw it. Her family saw it. Friends who had once admired her were suddenly very, very quiet. The shame had finally caught up. And when it did, she came crawling back. Not with remorse, but with exhaustion. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, the lights off, just me and the soft hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the wall clock she bought at a flea market years ago. Every sound reminded me of her. Every memory had her fingerprints on it. But now, even the good ones were infected. There was no such thing as a happy memory anymore. They were all polluted by what came after. At around 3:17 a.m., I got up and went into the garage. That's when I remembered the box. I had almost forgotten where I hid it. Tucked behind the old radiator vent, wrapped in towels to muffle the rattling of the items inside. I pulled it out like it was a buried artifact. Dusty, heavier than I remembered, smelling faintly of cedar and betrayal. I opened it slowly. Inside were the remnants of everything we used to be. The wedding invitation with the dried flower glued to the corner. A copy of the first grocery list we ever made together, where she misspelled avocados and circled it with a heart. A movie stub from a date where she had leaned her head on my shoulder for the entire second half. And under all of it, the letter. She had written it on our 4th anniversary. It was handwritten, 8 pages, folded neatly. I hadn't read it in years. I don't even know why I kept it, but I read it again that night. I love the way you forget your keys every other day but never forget how I take my coffee. I love how patient you are when I'm irrational. I love how you don't just see me. You understand me. It was all in there. Every line felt like a cruel joke now. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was once. That's what made it hurt so much. She had loved me, deeply, fully. And somewhere along the way, she started measuring me by my silences instead of my efforts. She stopped reading my love as enough and started hunting for something new. Not because I failed her, but because she convinced herself that boredom meant being unloved. I didn't put the letter back in the box. I took it with me, along with the ring she left behind. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I got dressed, printed out the hotel receipt, the Polaroid, the bank statements, and her handwritten grocery list from that first year. I slid it all into an envelope and left it on the kitchen table with one line scribbled on the front. This is the life you left behind. Do with it whatever lets you sleep. She wasn't downstairs when I left. I didn't care. I went straight to the bank and opened a new account in my name only. I pulled every cent that legally belonged to me and rerouted my direct deposit. I called a locksmith, scheduled the locks to be changed in 2 days. I emailed my boss and took the week off. And then I did something that should have felt final. I texted her mother. I told her everything. I wasn't looking for backup. I wasn't trying to humiliate Marlene. I just wanted someone on her side of the story to know the truth. Unfiltered, unmanipulated, and not some watered-down we drifted apart narrative. Her mother called me within the hour. She cried. She apologized, not for Marlene, but for never asking how I was doing while her daughter grew distant. I thought you two were fine, she said. She always made it sound like everything was your fault. I didn't have the energy to correct her. I just said, I think we both stopped trying at different times. I stopped first. She stopped last. That afternoon, when I came home, Marlene was gone again. But this time, she left the envelope on the table. Still sealed. Untouched. She didn't text. She didn't call. She didn't even ask about the envelope. Just vanished again. Quietly, like she had the first time. Only this time, she didn't take anything with her. No second car. No withdrawal from the bank. No sentimental objects. And that silence, believe it or not, was the loudest closure I'd ever received. She left because she knew there was nothing left to fight for. Not love. Not trust. Not even resentment. Just two people who stopped recognizing each other long before the affair ever started. The day the locks were changed, I didn't cry. I didn't hesitate. I handed over the keys to the locksmith and thanked him like he was a surgeon removing the last piece of a tumor I'd been living with for years. The weight lifted was subtle but real. I could finally walk around my own house without flinching at the sound of footsteps. I could open drawers without finding ghosts. For the first time in months, I felt like the space I was living in actually belonged to me. I started cleaning up slowly. Not just the house, but my life. I took down the framed wedding photo in the hallway and replaced it with a picture I'd taken years ago on a solo hike. One where I actually looked proud of myself. I started going to the gym, not to become some muscular revenge cliché, but just to feel in my body again. I reconnected with my cousin Darren, the one I always avoided because he was blunt to the point of brutal. We grabbed coffee and he said, "Man, she did you dirty, but you let her too." I couldn't argue with that. I needed to hear it. A few weeks later, I signed up for an art class. Random, right? I'd never painted a thing in my life, but something about sitting in a quiet room with strangers and creating something from scratch felt symbolic. We were all just trying to put shapes and colors to feelings we didn't know how to name. I wasn't good at it, but I was there. I was present. And that alone felt like a win. I haven't seen Marlene since. Rumor has it Curtis bailed the moment the Facebook post exploded. Typical. People like him don't stick around when life stops being flattering. I'm guessing she's living in someone's spare room now, figuring out who she is without a mirror to perform for. But that's no longer my story. My story is about letting go of the version of love I clung to for too long. It's about choosing self-respect over history, about realizing that not every ending needs closure. Sometimes the unanswered questions are the closure. And it's okay to move forward even when you don't have every piece of the puzzle. Because in the end, it wasn't the betrayal that defined me. It was what I built after it. Thanks for watching, and if you've ever experienced anything like this, betrayal, closure, or even unexpected healing, drop your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how you made it through. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions. See you in the next story.